better help him again. I did last time.
Have you ever planted a garden? What was in it and why? Well, it just so happens that I have planted a garden.
Gardener too.
And what was in it? Would you believe? I had okra and Brussels sprouts, which Anna Lou loved. And of course, tomatoes and green beans. And one time I planted a garden out in the backyard. And we left and went on vacation somewhere, and the kids were staying with Geneva, I think. And I had said, be sure and go out and pick the peas. And I don't remember exactly how this happened, but when we got back, I said, did you pick the peas? And I think Melissa said there were no peas in the garden, there were only green beans. Because at her young age, she didn't know that the peas came in a pod that looked
Such a city
pretty
girl.
much like a green bean. I guess she thought there would be these tiny little peas growing on a plant. But when I was a boy, there was a cannery out at Bonner Springs, and you could go out there and buy tomato plants, and they would agree to purchase all of the tomatoes that you grew. And so at one point in time, I went out and bought 500 tomato plants and was busy planting all those plants. And of course, we had read about how the Indians bury a fish with their plants so that they got fertilizer. Well, I didn't have a fish, but we went into my grandma's barn and we caught mice. And so I was burying mice beside the tomato plants. And I had great visions of reaping a huge harvest, taking my dad's old 39 Chevy pickup truck and hauling them out to Bonner Springs Cannery, and they were paying like $1.50 a bushel at the time. Except along came a huge hailstorm and completely destroyed all of my tomato plants. And so I got nothing. Zero, zip, nix, nothing. But anyway, I've always enjoyed planting something and growing it. So I have planted quite a few gardens, and that's just a brief sampling of what might have been in it. My most recent garden is 3 tomato plants on the patio in containers, and we got about a dozen tomatoes, and that's probably about all we're going to get.
Journal, describe your cooking skills and your favorite thing to cook. Well, my cooking skills are nil. And so my favorite thing to do is go to Kentucky Fry.
Oh, that's not true.
But I've tried over the years to try to learn to cook. And then when Grandpa had the heart attack, I tried to cook with no salt and all that stuff, and he didn't eat a bite of it. And I didn't either, and Disposal didn't even like it. But then we got over that, and he quit eating on me altogether. So now what I'm doing is I'm using my family as a base to see what I can make them eat on Sunday. But my cooking skills, my mother couldn't cook either, so where did I learn? Here you go. That's about it.
So this says it's from the journal jar, and it says, when was the first time you realized that you could read? I don't even remember when I learned how to read. I think it was probably when I was like 4 or 5. So probably around 4 or 5, but I really don't remember like when I first realized, oh, I can actually read this. Because I've been reading books like practically my entire life, and I love to read. During the summer I read like practically every day. So it's definitely something that is really useful. But I really don't remember the first time that I realized that I could read. I remember we had a couple of days in first grade when we would go out at White Church Elementary School, and we would go out with the fifth graders, and they would read books to us on the playground, so that was really fun.
Hear you. Did it snow much when you were a child? Tell something about it. What did you do? First of all, let me just say that it snowed a ton when I was little. It snowed up to here many times. It snowed and snowed. Am I wrong?
right.
It snowed all the time. It snowed in July. And I grew up right here in this house, and we used to go out and play, and I have to tell you, I'm not a big fan of playing in the snow. It's not my favorite thing in the world to do. But I was always really happy to wake up to a snow day. That was fun. But we would make snowmen and big balls of snow. I know there's a picture of the huge big snowballs out in your backyard, although I think you guys made them. Do you remember that? Does anybody remember that? Balls this big of snow
Oh, no.
out in a row in the backyard.
That's probably you and
I'm
mine.
not making that up. That exists.
Well, Mr. Mickelson finally got a round going.